it's important to have that. You got to have that icky feeling, because you know what it is? It's that fear factor that drives you to work extra hard so you don't fail, right?
Hey, how's everything going? This is Sergio Size with the Real Estate Hedgehog and my partner Sam. This is our 54th podcast, so we're moving along. I'm happy to be here. I'm hoping everybody's having a great time. We're closing in on the middle of May 2023. Some beautiful weather out here in Southern California. So I hope everybody's starting to get into that spring mode, as it were. Sam, how are things going for you?
I keep on chugging along every day, but I can tell you lately I've been crazy busy, and I've been struggling with different strategies and concepts to employ to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, momentum is crucial because you want to keep it going, because the moment it stops, it's going to, like anything else, it just takes time to get started again.
For guys like us who are the guys who started off from ground zero, it's like a giant locomotive, right? It's a hard push in the beginning. You're just trying to get going. You're trying to learn stuff. You're trying to get that first property, second property, but then you're on a roll. And I'm afraid that if I slow my roll, it's hard to roll it back again, right?
It gets hard. It gets hard. So, you know what, today on something kind of sort of related to that, that I want us to discuss is this whole issue of your comfort zone. Being in a comfort zone, getting out of that comfort zone. Because I know that when it comes to building, well, in real estate, every time you get into a new property, it just doesn't seem to matter how often you've done it. Every time you're going for a new property, and especially if you're moving from, let's say, one particular type of real estate class to another, and you're taking a step up, you're getting uncomfortable again. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I remember the first house I bought. Never owned a property. Finally went and found one. It was actually a piece of property with two houses on a piece of property. And this is way back in the 80s. And I paid $120,000. And I felt very uncomfortable because I had to put down, like, I don't know, $10,000. I mean, it seemed like so much money at the time. And I remember, like, a month after we closed the deal, standing outside the property, looking at it and thinking, man, I got ripped off. I got ripped off by at least $20,000, And that's that. And I remember thinking about that when I was going into the deal, thinking, oh, but what if I get ripped off? What if this isn't a good deal, And sure enough, that comfort zone thing, I'm sure you've experienced it.
Oh, I have a very similar story. I had a house back then, listed for $99,000. I got it for $92,000.
Oh, okay.
And I had put down, I don't remember the exact number. I might have put down 12 or 15,000, basically everything I had saved getting out of the military. And interest rates back then had just broke back below 10%.
Yes.
With perfect credit, you can get a 9.5% interest rate, right?
Right.
And my payments were $850 a month with everything. Okay. And I was scared. It was not in my comfort zone because I was making $8.50 an hour as a mechanic at that time.
Oh, okay.
So I was scared. But like anything else, over time, you get used to it. And then when you get to the next place, it happens all over again. I'm out of my comfort zone. But I think we need that. And I think you need to change that part of your mind. You need to train yourself. I think it's a mindset that you can change, but it needs training. And part of that training is that having experienced it and surviving it, that you can be out of your element and still make it.
And sometimes in order to change your mindset, in order to get out of that or go into the discomfort of that decision, you do your due diligence. You check with check everything out. You make sure that all your ducks are lined up. It doesn't remove that icky feeling of, oh my God, what if this goes wrong? And then you just have to do it.
Yeah. It's important to have that. You got to have that icky feeling because you know what it is? It's that fear factor that drives you to work extra hard so you don't fail, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know what it reminds me of? A few years ago, I did one of these Spartan races.
Okay.
Like Tough Mudders and Spartan races.
Yeah, I've done one.
Okay, I've done a couple. And so on this one that I was doing, one of the last obstacles was you had to climb this tower that was about 30 feet up. And then they had dug out this big old hole and thrown in all kinds of water. It looked like it wasn't a regular looking swimming pool. It was like a huge hole with a lot of water in there. Now you're 30 feet up. And what you had to do was you were at the very edge and you had to jump out, grab this a bar. It was a T thing, came down and then across. Grab it, swing, let go, and then hit this bell that was hanging from some other piece of wood, and then you would fall down into the water. Okay, so I remember going up there, and I looked down and go, "Ooh, that's kind of high, right?" And I'm doing this, and all of a sudden I see out of the corner of my eye a bunch of other folks coming up, and they would go, "Oh no, I'm not doing this," and they would literally just walk and come back down.
You're gonna skip that obstacle, huh?
Yeah, and I'm thinking, oh dang, here I am, and these people aren't even gonna do it,
Yeah.
But I mean, there was all kinds of folks going through anyways. They were jumping and doing it. And finally, it's like I almost had to, at that point, close my mind, not my eyes, just my mind, and said, just do it.
Yeah.
And the guy that, they had a guy there that's encouraging you, okay, dude, you ready? Are you ready? Ready to go? Are you feeling okay? Oh, yeah. But in essence, I kind of closed my mind, as it were, because I was scared. Not lying. It was scary. I'm not real comfortable with heights. You talk about being outside your comfort zone. I'm not comfortable. Otherwise, I would have become a firefighter instead of a police officer. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't comfortable with that. But finally, closed my mind, took the leap, grabbed that thing, went out, hit the bar. But somewhere in there, I kind of lost my balance. And instead of being able to come down feet first, I kind of came down with my back first.
Yeah.
And oh my God, that hurt. But the point there is that you, at some point, after you've made all your calculations, which is what I was doing up there, you just have to take that leap. And it's not even a leap of faith. It's just a leap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because a leap of faith would involve not having done your due diligence, not having talked to bankers and lenders and understood how the loan process worked, and not having done, making sure that your insurance was in place. That to me is a leap of faith, not having done that. But if you've done all those things, now it's not a leap of faith. It's just a leap and doing it. You know what I'm saying? What do you think? Do you think that's...
No, I agree. And I think, I guess before I go on, the question to you is, you did it, you failed. Yeah, it might have been painful. But since you've done it, you said you've done a few, it didn't stop you from doing another one, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So what happens is this, I believe that, and I think we put out a few podcasts back about these things, these incidents in life that change the trajectory of your path. So you were used to a comfort and you were going to go down that path of living comfortable. And then that incident, that one tough mudder that you did, and that leap and miss and hit and fall sideways, it changed the trajectory of your mental capacity or your mental ability to accept, run away from, or embrace discomfort, because now you've survived it. So the next one is not that difficult. In fact, it's good. You relish in it in a way. So I think that to the real estate end, it's the same thing. When you first go out and you try to run all the numbers and you just go ahead and go for it, you make that purchase because we're all nervous. It's a lot of money coming out of your hands. Once you're in it, you still have that anxiety and fear. So you do your best to make sure that that investment is profitable and it doesn't bankrupt you. But the moment you survive it and that cycle repeats itself, you get more and more comfortable. That can also become a comfort zone because you're used to that one thing. You're too scared to step out of that category. But the moment you step out of that category, and let's say you take on multi-units, apartments, commercials, whatever it is, You go through that cycle of uncomfortability and fear again. But the more times you step out of those comfort zones, the more prepared mentally you are to do it with different things and different parts of life, because
Absolutely.
you've survived it. And once you survive these, I guess you can say, like, these emotionally traumatic and fearful events, I believe it changes your mindset and your outlook on life. It really
Absolutely.
does.
And I also liken it to like being a weightlifter.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I think you've done weightlifting and stuff like that, right? So
Yeah.
you know how weight has a shock value. You know, I don't know if you've ever been on a bench press and you're up there, and all of a sudden your spotter helps you push it up so that you have it there. And I've been there where all of a sudden now I feel the full weight, and it feels like a shock.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what taking on, more responsibility, bigger loans, bigger properties is like. All of a sudden you feel the weight and the shock of it. However, just as you said, if you, just like with weightlifting, the more you work at it, the more weight you can add onto it. And the next time, even though you have that shock, it's a shock based on maybe an additional 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds that you put on it, but you're able to go through it. Same thing with money. When you're going to get that $400,000 loan, that's just nothing really, because that's just a single family home here in
Yeah.
Southern California, But like in the numbers that you and I play, you're thinking, oh, you know what, that loan's going to be 1 million, 1.2, 1.5, or whatever it is, million, and then on top of it, oh, and I have to pay it back in 5 years or 6 years or 7 years,
Yeah.
10 years if you're lucky, right? Even in the commercial world, and you're thinking, how am I going to be able to do that? Well, and the only way you're ever going to find out is by doing it.
Yeah.
And accepting the shock of the weight of that money that you have to pay out, or that you're paying out every month. But the thing to do is to realize, just like if you're working out continuously to make your body stronger, that it's not just you that's doing that on the real estate side. It's not just you that's paying that loan off. It's your tenants that are paying that loan off. It's being able to keep the rents by going, higher and higher every year, at least, hopefully, at something that's reasonable for you and for the tenants. That's who's really carrying that weight.
Yeah.
If you really think about it. So yeah, do you have to scramble to keep that property up? Sure you do. Do you have to scramble to make sure that the renters are there? Sure you do. But the reward is obviously the return on the investment.
Well, see, that's the thing. So that goes back full circle to mindset, right? So
Yes.
my goal, my motivation is based on my shift in mindset. So for a long time, I had a very conservative mindset where I'm going to buy a property, do a 15-year note, go to work really hard, try to pay this thing off, and it'll be all done and I'm good. That was the mindset. And even though in my mind I'm investing, but there's really no return because I'm working my butt off to pay for it.
Right.
Because the mindset was, I don't want to have any debt. I want to just pay off my debts. And then at the end of it all, it'll be mine. And then I'll start making some money. And part of that mindset was because I was not financially intelligent enough to understand. So when I finally began to understand the movement of money, and I broke it down here in America anyways, you have two categories of workers and people who actually invest and make money work. Workers earn money, pay taxes, and whatever's left over, you get to spend and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Investors have the money, earn money, they can spend it all they want, and if and only if they have some left over, then they'll get taxed on that. But that's the key difference. Right. So if you worked hard and you made $100,000, you spent hours of work, 40 hours a week, and you made $100,000 that year. Well, you're going to lose roughly $40,000 to the federal and the state if you live in California. Mm-hmm. So now you've got $60,000 to spend, and you can spend that on investing. You can spend it on your house, going out to eat, whatever it is. That's what you have. So you've lost 40% of everything you've done. On the flip side, had you been an entrepreneur invested, it's a business, if you will, that business that created $100,000 that year, you can spend that money first. You can reinvest the full 100,000 to make even more. You can do whatever you want. And for whatever reason, if you're generous enough to leave a little left over, let's say 10,000 left over that you didn't spend, then you get taxed. And you'll get taxed about $4,000.
Yeah.
40,000 versus 4,000, starting at the exact same number, but it's just understanding how money works in the system. So once I got that, it changed my mindset. It shifted. And I realized, you know what? I want to earn money using money working for me versus earning money by me going to work, because that's really the delineation between how you are taxed. When you provide a goods and service through your physical work, you get taxed on it. That's how the codes are set up. However, if money is created because you're using your mind through an investment, having others work for you or bringing in money to you, it doesn't get taxed. It's allowed to be free all year long to do whatever you need to do with it, reinvest it, spend all of it, even more than all of it. Whatever's left over, it shall be taxed. And
Right.
that's, I think, I wish they taught it in school, but that essentially is the money basics 101. Simple.
Yeah.
You work, you get taxed, you spend. You
So,
invest, you spend, and whatever's left over, you get taxed.
right. So here's the tricky thing, though. As you know, you could have all the information. And I know that you've told the story about how when we first met, and
Yeah.
then I gave you some information, and you went back, and then you went and you said you did research for like about 4 or 5 months, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Intense research.
intense research, yeah. But here's the thing, and I know people like this. They'll do the same thing. They'll go out there and get all the information, which is good. You have to do that. But then what is it? And I don't know that you might know the answer to this question, because I don't really know it myself. But what is it that now that you've gotten all the information, now that you've done your due diligence, what is it that makes people either pull the trigger on a deal or not? And I'm not saying that the deal goes sideways or something else. It's just a decent deal, maybe even a very good deal, and yet people won't pull the trigger. What is going on there, do you think?
I think that the answer is fear.
Okay.
It's just simple fear.
Okay.
Because of the fear, you're gonna take it on, right? Fight or flight. You're gonna run away from it. It's
Right,
fear.
right. Yeah.
And I don't want it to appear to the audience that I'm just fearless, right? But I do think that if you've hit bottom or you've been through a traumatic, point in your life and you're able to come out of it, or you've been, it's been reinforced into you that it's never as bad as you think it is, or you have a good support network, any of those or combination of, you can overcome that fear. Because what you just said was everybody consumes this information and educates themselves. So that is a constant. There's no someone gets more information than the other.
Yeah.
That's equal.
It's out there for everybody.
Correct. And it's in English. And if you speak English, the processing of it is equal, right?
Exactly.
So it's not like you don't process it. You can say if someone wasn't speaking English and got the information in English, they just didn't get it. But if you can process it, the information is equal. Now it comes down to personal ability to handle fear. So go back to it. I can say that for me, maybe it's my background. I don't know. I can tell you that as a father of 3 young kids, I have a lot of fears because I have a responsibility and a duty to my family. So therefore, my risk tolerance is a little bit different. However, knowing myself, my abilities, I always tell myself, what's the worst that could happen? No one's going to come and kill you over it. You might get some threatening letters over it. But at the end of the day, if you don't realize that you need to take that action to make something out of it, then there's no information in the world any of us can provide to you that will get you over that hump.
Right.
Information is out there. Everything you and I talk about on these podcasts is basically from our experience, from what we know, and hopefully it encourages and motivates others based on our successes or our, failures to navigate around it. But it's up to the people to take it by the horn and say, I'm going to try that out.
So here's, to kind of sort of close this out, I think that the thing that gets people to move forward, because I agree with you, we all experience fear at different levels. You know what? Some guy might be fearful just buying that first single family home for himself even. Some other person is fearful because they're buying a 400 unit apartment. The fear is fear. It doesn't change so much. You're able to carry it. You're able to make bigger decisions, lift bigger loads with practice and everything, but it's always there. And what I believe that gets people to take that final step and close on deals, believe it or not, is courage.
You know what? I forgot that. You're right. Courage.
And the reason I say that, Sam, is because you've been fearful, I've been fearful, and people that we know that are in this real estate business, they close deals and they're fearful. It's not like some other guy is out there doing this without any fear at all. There's some level somewhere, but it's courage that gets you across that threshold. And I think that that's where the person that's starting out, they have to figure out how to get that courage. They have to figure out how to dig deep, and then and get the courage to make the decision to move forward.
Oh,
and then,
I love it.
Yeah, and then of course, once you've done that once or twice, kind of like the lifting weights thing. Oh, okay, I have more courage and more courage, because you're going to need more courage to overcome bigger fear.
Yeah. Well, here's something that might be a courage builder for you. Remember the example I just used about $100,000 earned?
Yeah.
Well, let's multiply that by 30 years. And if you've lost $40,000 a year to taxes, right?
Oh,
before it even touches your hand.
Right.
You owe the government $40,000 a year. And let's just say you never got a raise in 30 years. Well, what do you think 40,000 is in 30 years? That's $1.2 million.
Yeah.
It's that's how much you paid the government.
I think it's more, don't you? Let me do something here.
Yeah, let's do some math. I did that off the top of my head.
Times 30. Yeah, you're right. It's $1.2 million.
So how does it feel knowing that $1.2 million of your hard-earned money is not yours?
Yeah.
Period. And then how does it feel knowing that if you took that leap, have the courage to go for that deal, to get to deals that'll make you just 100,000. I'm not talking about trying to make millions, just at 100,000, equal to your own pay. And you've just avoided paying $1.2 million in the next 30 years. Yeah. That's all yours. You can spend it.
Mm-hmm.
You can reinvest it. That's your money.
Absolutely.
That's the difference. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. That's the difference. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, that good little discussion about comfort zones, mindsets, fear, and courage.
Oh no, I love it. Courage was awesome. I didn't even think about it, but you're right. That describes everything.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, Senor, any final word before we close out?
No, hopefully I see everybody next week. We'll put out some more stuff, and you know what? Let's see where the market takes us.
Exactly. We'll talk about the market next week then. Okay, Sam. Thank you very much, buddy. Take care.
Mm-hmm.